Phantom Opera.
It is recording,
All the
so
characters, including the candle.
don't say the word "but" anymore.
She's the candle.
I'm gonna try not to curse, but no promises.
God, I comment.
But
All right.
Curse like a sailor.
I haven't been that moved by performance since Rent. Like, she commented.
Dana is enwrapped with a conversation with Omegan. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So good evening. I know this one's a little bit earlier, but I've got an early bedtime recently. So, and I know Ferris also gets up pretty early as well because we go work out in the mornings.
Oh yeah.
You have the tripod.
um,
Can I borrow it?
So I'm gonna start with some introductions for our panelists this evening. We have Ferris Oxide from Winter's Edge. I'm Alona Two Trees from Neverwinter. Dana Haptugruk from Wetlands. I'm gonna get it in a second. And Vidalia from Winter's Edge as well. So if y'all want to give yourself a brief introduction, let people know your face to your voice, that'd be great. If not, we can just jump into the questions.
Didn't know we had to give introductions.
If you don't know Dana, you will know Dana by the time this is over.
Yep, that's my night.
Getting an adjustment. Y'all all get to watch.
Here, so I'm Alona, and most people know me through my terrible award templates. Chances are you have gotten an award on my crappy templates that I made 2 years ago. I've been fighting that fight against using them ever since. That's me.
On camera. Sorry.
That's my introduction. Please don't use my templates. Better stuff that you can use. It's cool. If you go to my website, there's editable ones that you can create yourself.
Shameless plug.
Oh, I will shameless plug. I have an event coming up April 24th. Spring at Medieval Academy, because somebody needs to start talking, or I'm just going to be talking about my event.
All right, I'll go. I'll start. Go ahead, Ferris. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm Ferris Oxide, the Hallowed. I'm not very good on cameras or phones, and I'm sorry. That's me. I like to do art.
And Vidalia is in the middle of doing a chalk mural. I can use the words today. So I don't know if where she is.
I'll give an introduction. So hi, I'm Vidalia. I'm from Winter's Edge. I do portrait art mainly. You might have seen some of my scrolls, but I specialize in 2D portrait art.
All righty. So I like to start these off with like a personal journey question, because while I have 2 nights here and then I have 2 very highly wonderful artists as well, sometimes that can be intimidating. So we like to make sure that we know you're really human. So how far into your AmpGuard journey did you have that first aha moment when either everything seemed to click or that you decided that 2D art was something that you wanted to pursue?
There's that memory question.
Thank you, Kalandra, for being here so that you can be my memory, because you were there, even though you're silent and off camera. Somebody else can talk.
Right then.
I know. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I know I had a moment when I lived in Odessa. I lived in Odessa, Texas, and it was Golden Plains and the Kingdom of Golden Plains. And I was in welding school, and I actually, there was a guy there from AmpGuard, and he started talking to me, and he, talking about the combat and everything. And then he mentioned that there was art involved. There was ANS. And I went to their ANS group, which was at the same college. And that's when I had the aha moment, like, oh my gosh, this is an entire area where I can draw, and there's people in here making leather and sewing and what? And Yeah, so that's when I had the moment like, I'm gonna make some stuff. It's gonna be cool. That was my aha moment personally.
Day one.
Name one aha moment.
Day one. I got dragged out to park, introduced to people. The fighters are doing their thing, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is cool!" And all of a sudden, I turn around, and there's all these people sitting around doing, fiber arts. There was an ANS that day, and I was like, "Why didn't he tell me? I so could have gotten into this." Oh, it's okay. We're having another one in 4 weeks. Cool. I was cooked.
Yeah, mine. Okay. So I've always made crafty stuff. It was always my thing, and you don't want to see my office behind me. It was always I was always gonna make stuff. I just happened to make it for AmpGuard apparently. But yeah, like I love the fact that in AmpGuard there's so many different crafts to learn. Like I don't think I would have picked up leatherworking, definitely not. Textile stuff, sewing, I would be like, no, I would just stick to like fine art stuff. But definitely there was no like I'm not going to make stuff.
I got into, well, I was a professional artist before I played art, so there's that. But I actually started getting into ANS because of Ferris. I saw her orc self-portrait that they entered into ANS competition. And that was the first ANS competition I ever saw, and the first time that I'd seen art in AmpGuard that wasn't like exclusively historically accurate. And so I really enjoyed that and just took it and ran with it. So
Oh. So all of you have excelled in other areas of AmpGuard, and we kind of touched on that aha moment. But what is it about 2D art that draws you in more than other areas? We'll start with you, Ferris.
Let's see. I'd say I like to compete. I'm kind of a competitive person. But I don't like getting hit that much, honestly. So I think that's where it is for me. Like I love to play the games and stuff. I don't have the best memory, and I just feel like I can kind of do my own thing and be myself doing my art. And in the battle aspect of AmpGuard, I'm not that great. And I feel like I'm just better at, doing the creative things.
She is super competitive, but you're also like, it's more like a team thing for you too when you compete, because you're like, oh man, that's awesome too, and oh man, that's so awesome. So while you're out there to compete, you're building people up out there as well, which I absolutely love.
I do love other people's art. Like, yeah, do your art.
Dana, you want to take it?
What was the question? Talking about memory issues.
So you've excelled at other areas of arts, but how did 2D art catch your attention, or why is 2D art something you pursue more than others?
My mother was an oil painter, and I didn't want to compete with her, as it were. And she wasn't real good at line art, at pen and ink, and I was. So I found my niche very early. And AmpGuard happened along at a time that I was working illustrating for a rubber stamp company. And so I was used to just cranking it out. And our local Luke Wingard went, you're just what I need. And so I continued in AmpGuard to just crank out small illustrations. And It's what I had been doing for quite a long time. And I found out, whoa, there is a niche here. And I took advantage of it. It's what I do.
Lona?
Um, So in real life, I like to pretend that I'm a graphic artist. I'm technically a layout desktop publishing specialist, which is fancy. I've always been in graphic arts, and I've always liked to. My main focus has always been to like creating resources so that other people can excel at AmpCart. So like that's why I think of these templates that I hate. Actually, was able to take this is my graphic design part. Here's my other part. And put them together, and then like that was like, oh, that's easy. And I just natural like everything that I work in, like if I'm painting a painting with watercolor or whatever, I'm still designing it in Illustrator. So that's just I'm always a graphic design. That's where I'm at. That's where I was like, yep, 2D, obviously, but I can also pull that into 3D stuff too now. So.
But did you have anything to add?
Do you have anything to add? I mean, I've not created anything other than 2D
No.
art. So
That's BS.
This is what I do.
True.
So
I call BS, but okay. So what was the most difficult thing for you to make and why?
Ooh.
Talk about some more memory there.
I got one. Okay. So the most difficult thing for me, I just entered a tattoo that I did on my right leg into an ANS that I did 10 years ago. And I still think about that pain. That was very difficult because it was my own leg.
Did you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You want to see it? It's right
Yes.
here.
Oh
I
my
don't know if you-
God. You're the second person that I know that have done that.
I was a tattoo artist for a while, and I practiced on my own legs.
My brother did that. He has an angry evil Pop-Tart on his leg right there,
That's awesome.
and he probably doesn't want everyone to know about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it good?
Maybe on this technical difficulties.
Do we have a difficult project?
I do, but it's hard to talk about. I have a friend that passed away, and she was a serpent knight, and she was getting a flame knight, and I was asked to do the flame knight award, and before I was able to finish it, she passed away. So there's a fun one.
There's no
Lighten up the mood.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's gotta be pretty difficult. Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
Anyway, that was fun. Somebody else do it.
How difficult are those chalk murals, Vidalia?
what about chalk murals?
How difficult are they? Are they your most difficult?
Murals are difficult in the sense that like you have to be on your, they're very physical, they're physically demanding. So like I've had chalk murals before where I've almost finished the entire thing and then it rained. And then it ended up being like 26 hours over 2 days, doing this. So I say those are the most physically demanding. I think the hardest thing that I've done in AmpStart was Solas's scroll, just because I really wanted to get it right. Like it was something really emotional and really personal. And so there was a lot of pressure doing it, if that makes sense. So as far as like actual labor, I would say the chalk art is higher, but as far as like pressure and emotional labor, I would say a lot of important scroll work has been difficult.
When you do emotional labor, always demand that they cry and that you take that.
Collect the tears,
There we go.
all the tears.
Mhm.
That leaves you to know if you have a difficult project.
Oh yeah, two of them, and they're kind of along the same vein. One of our folks was getting knighted, and we had made the first kidney belt in the wetlands as a knighting belt. And at the last minute, Reed, during his vigil on Friday night, somehow the Circle and the King had decided that they were going to change this belt from, what was it, crown to flame?
Yep.
Yeah, from crown to flame. After the belt has been tooled and painted and sealed, and oh, I don't know how I pulled that off, but the panel that showed the symbol for the knighthood was changed, was repainted, was resealed within about 14 hours on site in a tent, hiding.
Even like, no,
I just about killed them all.
no.
The other one was very similar. I was trying to put the knight's personal symbol on the tip end of the belt because at the time, the internet was not as big a thing and nobody had been able to send me a picture in advance. So I had someone steal her shield, bring it to my tent, and she didn't get it back until I was done with the line work. Somebody came to the tent just as I was about to call out and said, hey, she's looking for her shield. And I'm like, take it, go away. And the belt was finished in time. But again, I want to hurt somebody. And those are probably my two most insanely difficult projects because of the suddenness, the oh no, we need to do this. It got done. I slept a lot afterwards.
Oh, I bet.
I feel like it sometimes is a little crazy. Like, I feel like some people don't, people in office, they need to remember that you need to ask for awards before the
advance.
day of the event. give us a month, give us 2 months, give us 4 months. And I understand that's not always possible, but there's been times when I've had, it was like, I would get a text. I would be at work. I get out of work at 4:30. I got the text at 3:30. Hey, can you make an award for this event? I'm not going to this event. Yeah. Well, I'm leaving at 5:30.
Yeah.
Can you have it done? I'm like, yes, because I hate myself.
Because we are awesome. We are miracle workers. Yeah.
Show a thing that was particularly hard for me, and it is 2D art, but it is also 3D art, and I'm gonna share my screen. Share. Can you see that? That was a pain. That was ridiculous. That took a lot of time and a lot of extra to it, and now I got to figure out how to close it. Oh my god, seriously? Did I just do that? Shared my screen, and now the little thing went away. So keep talking while I figure out how to make that go back.
I gotta figure out how to get to my notes too, because
Oh
it
my
just
God,
took up
what
my
did I
screen.
do?
Okay, there we go.
How do I turn off the thing? It did this again, or it just, oh lordy. Yeah. So
But
there's
you
my
keep playing with
screen.
that.
It's
We'll
good
keep
times.
going.
Good times.
Technical difficulties. These things happen.
Hang on. It never does this. Just stop sharing.
That is a beautiful belt.
Thanks.
It is pretty.
Yeah. Mhm. There's no stop squid sharing option. All right, so Libby is going to be the host right now.
Wonderful.
All right. And then I am going to figure out how to leave, come back.
Alrighty.
Why would this be a thing? It's a good time. Can you take away my ability to present?
I don't know.
This happens every so often, and there's no, maybe there's like an alt tab. Meeting controls. Yes, I see you. You need to do things, but there's no meeting controls. All right.
I do not have that option. I am sorry.
You don't have anything you can do? I see it on my screen, like if I alt tab it. Come on. Where are you hiding, alt tab?
And we're all being fascinated watching Kelly.
Whoops,
We're
this is
learning.
fun. Look at all my stuff.
We are indeed learning.
I'm sorry, this does not usually happen.
You're good. Hey, it's something else to add to your Zoom, how to do Zoom meetings.
No, it happens when I share screens sometimes, and like it doesn't, like it's not an option, and I can't leave. All right, so I'm gonna try to come back.
Okay.
No,
Like 2 seconds.
bye. Hopefully, no, you're just not gonna do that.
Wonder, could you put it back where it was? It had one person on the bigger portion, like you did with Vidalia earlier.
Yes, you can spotlight. You can spotlight. Processes. Come on, Zoom. Where are you? Sorry for the technical difficulties. Maybe if I didn't have 700 things going on at the same time. Zoom. Ah,
Yay!
that was the fun for the day.
Perfect. So to snowball off of that, can you tell us one of your art horror stories and how you overcame it?
Are you talking to me? I'm gone. Now.
All of y'all. This was actually asked during the Garber panel, and I've just kept going with it because this is great. So if anybody has a horror story and how they overcame it.
It was that. You just have to close.
I think I already told mine.
This is true. That's pretty scary. Fix this in a few hours.
Fair,
was
is
a
it a
horror
horror
story.
story?
Zoom
I'm
doesn't
trying to
work.
think of one, honestly.
Ferris is so chill. She just goes with the flow. Like, oh man, I messed that up. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, a lot of times, most of my paintings are just, I mess something up and I just put something over it. I work a lot with mixed media, so yeah, I drew I drew a Talon wrong or some kind of Celtic knot wrong. I just paint over it. Throw some blood in there. It's all right.
Yeah.
So that's how you make it work.
Yeah, most of the time.
You do the tears and the blood, and it's sorry, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Nobody has any horror stories in. We will move on to the next set of questions. If I can get my screen to work. Now I've got your technical difficulties.
I've ruined it for everyone. I have it open now on my other screen if you need that.
Nah, I got it. So these are for newbies that are looking to get into this medium. So what are some good entry-level materials to start with if you plan to do something like scrolls or watercolor or figure drawing, painting, or some just basic entry-level materials to start with?
Eraser, pencil, paper.
Yeah.
That is got to be the most basic set of tools I can think of, because from there everything else flows, or at least for me. So,
Same.
Yeah. I mean,
I have if you are looking to get into figure drawing, what I learned on is newsprint and graphite. You can get graphite for like, you get a whole pack of it for like $3, and then newsprint, which is like this big basically, and you can get a whole pack of that and just start practicing figure drawings. And because the paper is so cheap and so thin, you can just practice and then rip it off and
Practice
some
and
more,
recycle.
and you really get like a good figure or something without feeling like something is precious.
Yeah, I think that that's a very important thing. Like, you shouldn't, what is the thing? Kill your children, right? Sounds terrible. But like, okay, so if you take pottery classes and you learn how to throw stuff on the wheel and you make this beautiful cup, and then you're like, oh, and I worked like, I don't know, ridiculous amount of time on a cup. And then all of a sudden life happens and then the cup is ruined and it's just a, and you're like, that's fine. And you just throw it away and you just do it again. And I think that's true with like every kind of art medium. Like, it's okay to make as many mock-ups as you want and like I test out everything. Every time I try to do some kind of new technique or medium in everything that I do, which is really, after 20 years of it, I'm just like making up stuff. I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna put some stones and I've got some leather and I've got some wood and I'm gonna put them together, and it's gonna also have paper in it. And it's okay like to mess up, and it's okay to use, you don't have to use like fancy paper, and you don't have to spend your life hoarding crafts like me. You can actually have other things in your life, and like paper and pencil, go, and an eraser, and get lots of paper too. It's nice.
Sharpies.
Sharpies, yes. But make sure that you layer that paper if you're using Sharpies. Otherwise, you're going to have a very angry table.
Awesome stuff. Where was I now? What are some headache saving tips you have for people starting out?
I think, again, make a lot of test pieces. Always practice. Always, whatever you do. And don't be afraid to murder your children.
I honestly always use pencil and draw out what I'm putting on the paper and make sure the placement is correct before you put any definite lines down.
Mhm.
That's just me.
And don't use the edge of the paper and think that, oh, it's machine cut. That's squared off. I can go ahead and lay my ruler against it and set up my framework. And then you find out later that the paper wasn't square. And when you test it with a right angle, you find that your entire square or rectangle is off kilter. And on my word, I've already laid all the lines. What am I going to do? Test it first. Don't just get crazy with the pens. Test your page first. Canvas can be a little off too. Grab a square, check it out.
Awesome. This is something I definitely need to do because I hate testing. I just like to get into it and do it. And I really hate testing stuff out. Like, I was doing a scroll. I'm like, what if I did this? I said, well, test it. But that takes time and I want to be done. So
yeah, but you should just like add that in beforehand.
Yeah. That's something I need to work on. What about some good resources, either online or books or anything like that, for those starting out and wanting to learn a little bit more?
Go into the black hole that is Pinterest. You'll never get out.
Never.
Black hole that is the internet, YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
books on drawing anything. I just got a new one, as a matter of fact. It's drawing furries. Like, I need help. Yes, I can't do the cartoon furries very well, so I went and found a resource and am learning. Never stop learning.
Yes, and I want to add, I'm sorry, I'm totally cutting off Ferris. Ferris, you talk, and then I will stop talking.
Oh, I didn't say any. I was I'm still trying to figure out how to use this headset. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, for resources, I really like taking classes online. The one that I like right now is, and I'm not pronouncing it correctly, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's called udemy.com. I have taken a lot of graphic design stuff there. I have taken a lot of art history stuff there. I have taken whatever I need for work. You will be able to find a class there. It goes from being ridiculously expensive, like it's like $150 for this class, but once a month it's $15 for this class. So you sit there and then you just wait. And you can learn a lot. There's a lot to learn. And you're right, never stop learning.
Sniping classes, huh?
Awesome. We'll move on to some questions about technique. This one is by hand or electronic medium. Are there projects or parts of projects in which you prefer one over the other?
I'm just going to keep talking. I'm sorry. I am that person.
I do electronic media a lot. Did I talk over you? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please, because otherwise I can't handle quiet. So I'll just keep talking. Please talk more.
As well as physical stuff. And I found that doing scroll work is so much easier electronically because you already have, like, you can move the text around. You don't, because when you do calligraphy, it's permanently in that spot. So when you're doing digital scroll work, you can move the text around, you can change the text size. It's got magnetics and locking, so you can like get your proportions exactly right. So I think scroll work, digital is definitely easier, unless you want to do something like
Oh, you had cut out. You said unless you were trying to do something like, and then it stopped.
Unless you want to do something traditional or historically accurate.
There you go. Perfect.
Like what Lyndon does is beautiful work, but I don't think that doing it on my iPad would be traditional.
She would disagree with you. I think that, I don't know, I do a lot of her graphic design stuff. So when she needs it. So I start off, usually I have an idea in my head and then I draw it out on a piece of paper and then I take a picture of that and then I bring that into Illustrator. So I use everything, but in the past few years, my right hand, my dominant hand, I have a frozen shoulder. So like I had to relearn how to draw and write and do everything with my hand. I can do stuff now. Look, I can touch the top of my head if I try real hard. So electronic is where it's at for me.
Donna or
I'm a
Barry?
pen and ink girl. I can't, I'm not proficient with electronic mediums. So while I've done a lot of scrolls, electronically, they've been very, very simple, like, you know, first Dragon, first Garber, this kind of thing. But the higher end scrolls to me are very special. And this is no diss on the folks who are doing this electronically. Y'all have talent, okay? I really go for a console, simplicity in the look, and pen and ink scrolls are my go-to. Adding color was like this huge, what are we gonna do? For me, but it stays very simple, and I get a very clean look that I'm very pleased with, and apparently all the recipients are very pleased with. So it's what you know, it's what you do. And if you do it right, it comes out fantabulous. And I have not seen a scroll yet by anybody on this panel that was that was bad, that was, wait, how much cover up did you use on that? This is a very talented bunch.
I have 20 years of hiding it.
I personally don't have much experience with doing anything electronically. I think the last time I used the computer for art was maybe like 2007 or 8 using Photoshop, because I'm not very good with technology, honestly. So for me personally, I like to use traditional mediums. And I think people that can use the computer are pretty amazing, because I know that takes some skill.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm the same way. I'm not technologically advanced at all.
Yeah.
The only way to do it really is you just do it.
Yeah.
Like you just play with
It's
it.
just like anything else.
Yeah, I learned Illustrator
Yeah.
by playing with it every day for 20 years.
True.
So, I also don't do everything in Illustrator. I don't actually output stuff usually electronically unless it's with my laser. I usually like design it and lay out, and then I print it out, and then I bring it and I paint it. I bring it out and I use it to trace. Because
Says
that's
the
cool.
queen of 3D scrolls.
Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome. All right. Next question. So expensive materials, so like pens, paints, canvases, or even programs, are they worth it? Or what's the pros and cons?
I'm sorry, what was the beginning of the question?
Expensive materials,
Oh, okay.
are they worth it? Or what's the pros and cons?
Start cheap. Learn what you like. Like I'm stuck on Prismacolor colors and pens, and I love Prismacolor. I love Sakura pens for my line work. Those
Yes.
Sharpies come in really handy. And when you look at the cost, as an example, if you look at the cost of a Sakura pen versus a Sharpie marker, there's a vast difference in price. However, if I'm doing something archival, those Sakura markers are worth every penny I pay. Prismacolor, again, I could go pick up matte pencils or cheap markers from, down at the dollar store. But now that I've learned how to use better products, I have a hard time. I have a bad itch trying to return to less expensive stuff. Start cheap, work your way up, find what you like, what works for you. And the expense is just not going to matter anymore once you find what works for you. Well, until your pocketbook gets I'm looking at you, Ferris.
Oh, I use absolute garbage for my art. So the only thing that personally, like I pay money for, like you said, I like the Sakura pens are amazing. Like, anything with a fine point, I think it's worth the money. Also watercolor. I can totally paint with some cheap watercolors and make it look pretty cool. But if you have really highly pigmented ones, I think they're worth the money too. Everything else, it's just, about making it work, honestly.
Yeah, I'll splurge on some things and be really cheap on other things. One of the things I'm doing right now, in fact, is I'm making my own gouache. But this is watercolor because I didn't have any chalk because I'm not smart. But it's just like really, really cheap. You buy the pigment, you buy the gum arabic and some other stuff, and it's actually really, really cheap once you have all that stuff. So you have enough paint forever. I will splurge on paper. I am a big fan of hot press paper. If I'm doing a scroll, I have cold press because that's what I can get in pads like easily around for me, and I'll just do stuff in cold press because here you go, ta-da! But if I'm doing something I really like and I really want to make it stand out, hot press is the way to go for me. But that's expensive. I can get it locally. I live in an art city. We have an art college, Ringling College near me, so like I can actually go and get those things locally for me. But $20 on a piece of paper is not everybody's cup of tea.
True.
Just don't have children, and make sure that the person that you live with is willing to support you, and that they have a good job, and that is how you can also waste all of your money on art supplies.
Um, the way that I kind of see it is you're paying for ease. Like you can do the same things with like lower quality paints or lower quality pigments or lower quality paper, but you're going to have to put way more time and effort and energy into it, if that makes sense. So yes, you can use lower quality materials in a pinch, but like when you're getting really high up there, and you know, same strokes, the quality. So
I totally feel you on that one, Kelly, too, because my husband just got a new job and I'm like, I can buy more leather now.
Oh, no.
I mean, you shouldn't do that. That's totally wrong. It is inappropriate to think that you can use your spouse to
Oh, yeah.
further your craft supporting
totally.
habit.
Totally a joke, but still hilarious.
I recommend lasers.
My spouse buys the stuff, and in return, he has free access to all the art he wants. Custom, whatever.
It's a trade-off.
Yep.
All right. Next question was submitted. I actually really like this question. It was basically kind of art and service. So the art community, especially for scrolls, because we've talked about those a lot tonight, seems to function more as a free service industry, as many artists provide their services for free or for very little money. So as awards are an integral part of AmpGuard, supplies can be time and money expensive wise. What are some ideas on how to improve upon this service or support our artists with that hobby?
If you're asked to do a scroll, charge for your materials. Even if you have them on hand right now, it doesn't mean that you're going to have them on hand for the next project. Personally, I charge for materials. I don't charge for time in AmpGuard. And it gives some people the wrong idea because they'll come to me on the side saying, hey, can you sketch up this tattoo for me? Or, hey, can you, paint my dog? And trying to teach them the difference between this is my volunteer work for AmpGuard and this is what I do to make money for a living is sometimes difficult. But unless it's like using one of Alona's forms, one of the award forms, and you're just printing it out, you're getting it for free anyway, printing it out at work or whatever, then definitely put some kind of a price tag on what you're doing. Make the commission person know that you value yourself. Even if it's okay, $5, I'll deliver it to Park on Sunday. Whatever. Value yourself and make other people do it too. Just because you charge for materials doesn't mean you're not up for your next rose for something beautiful. Or for assisting whatever the monarchy is that you're assisting. Next.
Well, I'm a hypocrite because I totally when I see AmpGuard artisans and they're like, hey, I can make you a pair of pants for $20, and I'm like, no, you need to charge me more. like no, you need to charge me more. You should value your work 100%. But on the other hand, if I charged people for what I want to make them, I wouldn't get to make them. And so I'm a giant hypocrite, and I think people should be able to be paid definitely for your work. but I also don't do that. I think that kingdoms really, 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 and parks need to start having an amount of money that pays the people making the gifts for when people get knighted, because it depends on your kingdom. Sometimes the knight circle, that's what you like, you get knighted, good job. Now you are buying something that could be $100 every time somebody gets knighted. You're doing that. That's on you now. Like, oh, I didn't know that being knighted was the part of it. You need to have a fund to pay your artists. People need to get paid, son.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in 2 cents here, Kelly. I agree with you. The night circles and the parks should have money. And as they get more used to the idea that people are going to actually ask for money, I think they will. I am in 4 different groups waiting for people to be knighted due to COVID, right? They got the vote, everything's ready. It's just a live in-person thing. Every one of those groups, I have said, I can no longer art for physical reasons. I will throw money at it. Tell me what needs to be done. I will help defray costs. I have yet to have anybody come to me and say, hey, you willing to kick in on the scroll, on the cost of nice spurs? Nobody. There's also a problem that way. Don't be afraid. If somebody says, I'm willing to kick money, the worst that they can do is say, yeah, I'll give you a 5. And you think, oh, well, that was expensive. But let them know that you're making this thing. And if they're willing to toss you some money, you're good with that.
That's a
You
great
see what
idea.
I'm saying?
That's a great idea. That's wonderful.
Don't get embarrassed when somebody wants to pay you to do your work.
Damn straight.
Of course, this is coming from a bunch of longtime service-oriented artisans, but we're all in agreement whether we pay $5 for materials or $50 for materials. That money's got to come from somewhere, and I guess it's up to us as the established. Well, okay, yeah, established. We've been at it a while. As the established artisans, to pass this along to those that come after us, those that we teach, those who teach what we say to others. They need to know, yeah, you're excited, you're brand new, you're volunteering, and this is wonderful. Don't let yourself get screwed. Don't let yourself get into a position where you're paying out so much money on this volunteer project that you can't make your own rent. Been there, done that. Don't want to do that again. Making sense, hopefully?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I see Ferris
Absolutely.
sticking that lip out. Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, all right, Vidalia and some of you other younger ones, Kelly, I include you in that because I'm friggin' 68. You're still a kid to me. I love you.
I'm 42.
You guys are asking and you're turning out beautiful things. So start stepping up when they ask you for this stuff. I was just at an event and was asking who's doing the scrolls, trying to get these people lifted up so everybody would go, oh, that person did that beautiful scroll. I need to go to them. A lot of times when things are presented, nobody says, this person made this awesome scroll.
I agree.
Advertise.
Yeah, you should put like when you're a regent or monarch, whatever you're presenting, you'd be like, look at this person made this. And I think that would go a long way for a lot of people. Just like, because otherwise, who knows who made what? Unless you're like, hey, I judged all of this and I know that's your style. I know this person's style, or I watched them make it on here. So
Absolutely. We tried to announce that yesterday during court as well. And then I got it posted too for all the personalized stuff. So everybody knows who it went to and who made it. So you want to show that
Excellent.
off. Yeah. Let's
I agree with
see.
Calandra. The artist name is always read in SCA. They should have done it in AMCAR too. So regents and monarchs that are currently, and also a champion who is currently in this chat, and probably, I don't know what everybody else is doing. Especially if you see this afterwards.
No positions, just nosy.
Yep, absolutely. Right. We get to art and ANS, fun stuff. What are some?
Monster?
You're cool, Ferris. You're cool.
That wasn't me.
Kelly.
You're saying that knights were scary? We have monsters. You didn't know that.
You got a monster in my house, apparently. My bad. So, wow. So, what are some key things to keep in mind when entering into an ANS competition with your 2D art?
Right up.
Write-ups,
Write-ups.
I can talk about this.
presentation.
Tell them
Don't just-
everything. Take pictures of everything.
Yes.
Give too much information.
If you give too much information, Kelly, you're doing a write-up that could also be entered as a how-to guide.
Give too much information.
We'll
We
enter.
want more. We want more. As a judge, please give me. I don't care. Especially if you're having virtual stuff, like give me 80 pictures. I'm fine with that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Take my time and look at it. I like how Knox is talking, but it's completely muted. It's okay to speak.
Oh, no.
Anybody? Bueller?
I was pausing to make sure Knox didn't want to say something.
Okay, here's more. Depending on what you're doing, because like 2D art is, it just means it's just a flat piece, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Do the extra step. If you're drawing a picture, okay, if you're doing a monster drawing, right? Don't do it on lined notebook paper and have like the stuff on the edge. Like, don't do that. Just go the extra step. Do it on some copy paper. Like, go someplace and steal a piece of paper. Have it mounted. Have it framed. Do what you can to make it look good, as opposed to here's this little thing that I put here. I made this. I drew this on some notebook paper in the middle of class, and you like it, right? Like, do extra. Go extra. Go. So, write everything down. Take a bunch of pictures and go extra. That's my recommendation. Also, in general, in life and everything, anytime, whatever type of ANS you are entering, for the love of God, you are not your score. That is not you. Don't take it personally. I know it's hard. I know it sucks. And I know that I've been there. Oh my God, I've been there so many times where I'm like, you hate me. Like, no, this could be worked on. To work on this. Like, but you hate everything I do. But it's not about you. It's not about you at all. And you have to realize that it's also, okay, I'm gonna rant. ANS competitions don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. They're nice. You get to see, usually some judges get to see your stuff, but they're not you. They don't represent you. And I feel a lot of times that they make a lot of people feel really bad about themselves. And that's kind of crap. They don't mean anything. Take the feedback, move on.
Take the
Absolutely.
constructive criticism and
Yeah.
just walk on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the judges don't know everything. Come on.
Mhm.
No judge knows everything about everything. I'm sorry. That's impossible.
True.
So
Yeah, some of us try.
we try really hard, but that doesn't mean anything. So
I honestly want to talk about transporting also, because I smear things all the time. And, a lot of people, they don't think about it. You just throw it in the car and then you're taking it to an event, putting it in the ANS, and you end up smearing it. It gets wet or something like that. So I always put something between it, or make sure you're going to transport it correctly and not end up destroying it before it gets there. Because I've done it.
I made a title that was a castle, a wooden castle that had a crown in leather around the edges, and it stored the crown. You put the crown on, and inside the castle there was a music box, and you can buy music boxes that you can put your own music in. This is how extra this was. So I found here's how this is the song, right? And I punched it out of the card and I put it through it was the music box, and the music box broke between my house and the event.
Oh
And I'm
man.
like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, and then I mailed it out to the person because it wasn't anybody that was local to me. This was in Dragonspine. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Here's a music box that doesn't work, but it's got a castle. And so, yeah, transportation. You should
Yeah.
about it. Whatever you gotta do, and don't make music boxes. That you
Just
can't
don't do
access
it.
once you're done.
They have on these portfolio bags that you can get like at an art supply store or something, and you can put pieces in that are up to like 3 feet long, and it will protect them. They're typically water resistant, at least, and that's what I used to use when I was transporting a lot of my work.
Nice.
Yeah, Calandra and I both windsurfed to college because we were both in the arts programs. We all had to have those giant portfolios, and you have to lug them to class for the lessons.
We were talking earlier about inexpensive versus expensive. It is the simplest thing to get a piece of tracing paper, onion skin, if anybody remembers that term, and using your masking tape that you may have for, other products or other projects, put a cover over the art. Even if you don't have it mounted, or even if you do, put a cover over whatever that surface is that you arted on. Saran wrap, believe it or not, for framed or matted materials is wonderful until you can get them shrunk wrapped. In the real world, I'm told don't enter a competition and have shrink wrap on your matted art because it removes something that the judges might be able to see. But in AmpGuard, there are fingers everywhere. Wrap it. Protect your art. Also, matting and framing helps you put it onto an easel, and you can get cheap little plate easels down at the dollar store that look just like they came, acrylic came from a museum. Stand your art up, because laying down flat, it looks very, very different. Well, Libby, you know about presentation.
Yep.
Miss, I've got this thing on the computer and I have to hide my laptop. Wow.
Yeah.
I want a second on the dollar store is a great place to buy stuff for. You can get, depending on the size of it, you can get frames for $1.
I don't know that.
And my computer, my Kindle device is now thinking that I'm talking to it. Anyway, sorry that it was talking. I just have like a ton of frames. I've got, $5, go to the dollar store, buy a bunch of frames. And then that's great when you give a scroll that's framed and people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're like,
Yeah.
it was $1.
Especially newbies, they get so impressed.
Oh my God, collect their tears.
Yep, frames. They've even got like the little plate holders.
Yeah, they have all
so you
these
can sit stuff up for $1.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me. I try to work at 8.5 by 11 because it's very simple for me to design an Illustrator, a thing, and then print it out, and then use my light table and paint it out, and just stick it in at 8.5. You can get not big sizes. I mean, or go to Goodwill and just you can get
Yes.
some cheap frames. You can get a lot of stuff at Goodwill for AmpGuard. My favorite is if you need leatherworking neat, like if you need belt wear that's like super neat, go and buy a bunch of crap belts and cut them up and use the hardware that it comes with. Like, yes, please.
You can also use those crap belts on your
in your
shields.
projects. Yeah.
So multi-use.
Yes. So dollar store and whatever thrift store you got around you.
Speaking of thrift stores, some of the thrift stores are cheaper than Goodwill. I'm sure some of you have noticed Goodwill's prices going up. But there's times when I'll walk in thrift stores and they'll have so many frames, they're like the 8.5 by 11 fairly plain ones are, yeah, take 5 or 6 for 50 cents.
All right.
Yeah.
Serious, with glass, everything.
I was gonna say, I live in Florida, so let's say that we have a lot of thrift stores that smell like old people's houses. And you're like, every
You know
time you buy
what?
something,
Everything washes.
did someone die in this? Every time.
Yeah, just wash it off.
Just watch it.
Spray it down,
Good.
get home, it's fine. And speaking of presentation, so that can be a point of contention for entrant and judge alike. So what are some other good ways to set your entry apart with presentation? You know, Alona, you said frame it, set it up off the table, Dana says stand it up, don't lay it flat. Are there any other good presentation points?
Yes,
This is going to crack you up. Get a piece of metallic or bright colored paper. It can be cheap Christmas wrap, for Christ's sake. Put it down, then put your picture on it. Having something eye-catching down on the table, even if you can't stand it, it's a windy day, you don't want to risk it, lay it down. It's got a big sheet of paper under it. People look at it.
It will call attention to the item. Just make sure it doesn't clash too much.
Yeah.
Well,
something
yeah.
You want to think about too is the ANS competition being held in a place where it's going to be windy? Bring some rocks. Bring something, because stuff gets blown around a lot.
Again, dollar store, go get pretty rocks.
Pretty rocks. Yeah.
And save them in your kit. This is your presentation kit. Save them there and take them with you every time you go to a competition, because you never know where a pretty rock is going to come in handy.
True.
It might be holding down your paperwork. It might be holding down, as you mentioned, the paper to offset and draw attention to your item. And it's not just the art, it's chainmail, it's leather, it's anything that you're going to enter. If you enter a pie, putting a pretty placemat underneath that pie and having your pie cutter right there on that placemat, it draws it together. It doesn't, it's not just, oh, look, a pie. No, it makes people really, hey, come on, I'm from Texas, I can do these things, yeah. The placemat will actually draw it together and make people look more honestly at the, say, the design that you have woven into the top of a fruit pie, the cover, or the design that you've done on top of that pie with cherries and whipped cream. A cake, same thing. I've got a squire who produces the most wonderful artistic cakes. And she typically will just go out and put it on a table and that's it. And I told her, if you use a tablecloth, just a white cheap sheet, whatever, it separates your entry from those around it. And it makes a judge look at your entry with less distraction from the items around it.
What do you
also
think?
It also makes sure that you have that table space too, so your stuff doesn't get
Yes.
moved around.
And the sheet can
What I
always
like
be
to-
folded down, make a little more space on the table for somebody else. But it doesn't have to be. You can take over the whole damn table if you want to. Just make sure you can fill it. One cake on one table is ostentatious. One cake on a piece of cloth on the table is an entry.
Make noise during my meeting.
I
A lot of
honestly,
times-
oh, sorry.
my bad. You
Go
can
ahead.
buy fabrics at, again, thrift stores where little old people had doilies and or stuff like that, table runners that none of us seem to use anymore, but they did. Your cake goes in the middle. It's got this art on the edges. You're golden.
Mhm. I like to make my write-up into kind of a work of art that goes with the art. And that's kind of eye-catching.
I like that.
It is.
I don't suspect that virtual ANS is going to continue the way that it has this past year. Something I like that I started doing when I entered virtual ANSs is I use Google Slides to create a slide presentation because I'm extra of all of the things. And you could be like, this is how I worked. Here's all the pictures. Here's this. Here's everything that you ever needed to know about any kind of artwork that I've ever done ever. Here's my blood type. Here's my social. So
And I find it too funny too, you called it your presentation kit. And like, I'll go to the thrift stores and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty scarf. I could use that for presentation. Or
Mhm. You can wrap it around the screen on your laptop like you've done.
exactly, I can wrap awards in it so nobody can see it and I can collect their tears later.
Yeah.
And I've just got stuff all over the place. I'm like, oh, I need to set stuff
actually
around it,
800
make it
years
set
old.
out.
Living through your tears.
Never.
Hey, presentation right here. I've got this huge fur that I'm leaning my head on
Yeah, I have
so that
two
you don't
furs.
have to look at my house.
Yeah, I have two furs that I use two reindeer furs actually. I got from Dandy Von Cheap that I use for taking photographs and making my cat feel weird.
Kelly, you brought up online presentation as opposed to physical presentation. And to me, really, they're very similar. If you're going to take a picture of something, make it a nice picture. Well, I'm not a photographer. How do I do that? Well, you keep a piece of black suede or black velvet. They are very particular to photography, to the way the lens picks up light. And set up a box on your table and drape whichever you have, the leather, the velvet, drape it partially on the box and spread it across the table in an L shape and put your item on that table in front of that backing. Then start taking your pictures. It's a quick, easy way to get a dark background, an even background. You're not seeing all your other workspace, all the materials splayed around everywhere. You're not seeing somebody's McDonald's bag. You're not seeing drink cups,
Coffee cups.
Non-photographers tend to not think much about what's around the object. They just shoot the object, which is what they see. And they don't understand that the camera sees all that junk in the background too. And you can only crop so much away. Using a background, preferably a solid color, will bring all that attention, just like, the cake on the runner. It'll bring the attention back to the object, not the distractions. I've seen very few people in online events, after having run a year of them every 2 weeks, that have taken pictures like this. I mean, in the ANS tourneys that I ran, we even had a phrase for cats. Cats are cats, they're gonna happen. And if you can't get them out of the picture, just
Highlight
leave the
them.
cat there. It adds interest.
My cat. I try to take pictures of things on my cats. It pisses them off. I love it.
I'm surprised I haven't been interrupted yet by a cat.
The door is shut because otherwise they would be here, probably making the biggest stink, because behind me is my bathroom where the litter box is, and they like to smoke me out.
Wait.
And I said, what did you eat?
Yeah.
They say, I don't know, crap off the floor. And I said,
Continuing on, the write-ups also can be a point of contention. I did this just for you, Vidalia. So what are some pointers you have for good write-ups?
Since this is directed at me.
It's for everyone,
So
but
what
I just like
happened
picking
was
on
that
you.
it's fair, I deserve it. So what happened with my first tournament outside of Radiant Valley? So there was a motorcycle. So what happened with my first tournament at Radiant Valley? Outside of Radiant Valley, rather. I didn't bring any write-ups, and I just kind of like put a title and my name on like a piece of paper and was like, there you go. I think I put the dimensions and the materials and a name for the piece, and that was it for my write-up. And I got my butt handed to me. And so from that point on, I made it a point to like learn how to do write-ups really well. Fiddles gave me some great resources on how to do write-ups. I think I have like 4 or 5 guides. I can post them after the panel, just on how to do write-ups specifically for ANS tournaments. And then I think it was the Ironwood tournament, where entering and having all of these Libby messaged me, and she was like, oh sorry, Obscura messaged me, and she was like, write up comeback of the century. So yeah, it can be very important and very informative for your judges, to have a very clean write up, that details like how the piece is made, some stylistic choices that you've done, and really give yourself the best shot at judging.
I want to give a pointer because not everyone can write. Not everyone is a very good writer. I'm a very good talker. Not everyone has, and some people, they have dyslexia, or they just aren't able to, like, they can talk about their stuff for days, but they can't necessarily write it out in a way that people would be like, oh yes. So I want to encourage, when it's easy right now because we all have like digital stuff, nothing's really happening in person. Google Docs, you can do it on your phone. You can also use voice to text. You can open up a doc and you can just talk it out. You can also make a video. I can also add in Admiral Gun Cash if she comes in the meeting. I think as people who run, we should allow more than just like written out stuff. We should have, if you need to make a video as your write up, make your video as your write up. And don't be afraid to enter stuff because you don't write well. Get a friend. That's what I do. All my friends see all the stuff that I work on. I'm like, is this right? Am I stupid? Is this, words make sense? No, words not make sense. I need a proofer in real life. If anybody really wants to be my proofer, that'd be great. So yes, you should.
Have someone ask you questions about your item.
Yeah.
Because they'll give you insights to what information the judges may be looking for that you're too close to the item to think of. I am exceedingly fortunate in having a spouse who is also a crafter. We do it to each other all the time. We'll come in the middle of something being made and go, hey, what, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't think about that. Thank you. You know, and it helps you to collect information for your write-up. If all else fails, go back and use your basic 5-paragraph essay as a basis. I mean, it can only be 3 paragraphs. It can be 2. It doesn't matter, but it's an opening statement, 3 supporting paragraphs of information, and a closing statement. This does not conflict with giving an ingredients list. What were your materials? It does not conflict with having a name and a subtitle on the name. And well, traditionally here in the wetlands, we don't put who did what. We kind of figure it out, but we don't attach our names. And your closing statement, which always seems to be the hardest, is the easiest. You did it. you're done with it.
I think there's also something too, depending on where you're at. I have judged stuff now because of this wonderful pandemic. I've judged stuff Golden Plains. I've judged stuff in Emerald Hills. Not every kingdom. I think I did something for Ironwood. I think I did like at the very beginning last year. Not every kingdom demands to have a big old write-up. I like them, but there's regional flavors.
Yep.
This tastes like Texas.
Ferris, I wish we had a picture of one of your write-ups that I could put up. Because they really are. They're like their own little miniature art. It reflects the art she's already done and kind of tells a story about the art, but it's in the same stylization as the art she's presenting.
Oh my God, please find that.
I'll have to
Post it
find it
later.
or post it later. Yeah, it's
I wonder if there's one around here somewhere.
this
I
is just
don't
like
think so.
a little miniature story about it. It has its own flavor. I'm like, yep, that's the Ferris right there.
Okay, so this is actually kind of, I'm tangenting and I'm sorry, I'm wasting time, but I was judging something in Emerald Hills and they had a virtual ANS and they had a Zoom call and the entrants were able to come in and talk about their piece. And like, I was so impressed. This person did it in RP, like front, like she dressed up, had all the things, talked in an accent, did all the stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, you did so much extra. And yeah, please just do more extra. I love that, please. Be extra. And I didn't like give them way extra points for it, but I was very impressed.
I always say it keeps us entertained as judges too, and that's
God.
the best part.
The Interkingdom one as a judge for that took like a month to judge. And like, oh my God, we had, usually when you go to an ANS and you're judging, you have a day and you're like, I guess that's just my life is this day. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to see my friends. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to do this for a day. And like, you're going to get to 4 o'clock. This is another thing about judging. If you worry that your score is about you, there is so much about your score that has nothing to do anything you can even pretend to be in charge of. Your score is dependent upon how hungry the judges are. If they're having a bad day, if it's raining, where in the queue they have been judged. Like, oh my God, just scores don't mean anything. The end.
Absolutely. What is something different? If you're using someone else's images, but you've altered them, what is the best way to incorporate that into your write-up?
Say it. Don't steal. Say you use this.
Give them credit.
Mm-hmm.
Photography, photography by Dana Obscura Darcy. Alteration of images by The Artisan. If you're using illustrations, and Lord knows there's a lot of us here who are illustrators who like getting credit for our work. Illustrations by Vidalia used by permission. It's that simple.
Yeah,
Talk to your artist and get their permission to use it and give them a byline. It says that, hey, they cooperated with you and you took the time to make sure that they were recognized, even if you're supposed to be anonymous. Acknowledging them does not hurt you. Not at all, because it's your work that's being looked at. Of course, if you pick the wrong illustrations or use, an embarrassing photo, that might be difficult to get past the judges.
Be careful what images you use, but definitely give them credit.
I want to recommend places to get free images. Pexels and Pixabay and Unsplash. All are websites where you can find stuff that you can use.
Yes, thank you for Pixabay, because I have been using those for scrolls for the last 6 months, and it is wonderful.
And see, you just gave credit.
I'm on the phone.
Hey, Boop.
It's Boop. It's okay if she joins the voice.
yeah.
chat.
Oh, yeah. So on the flip side of that, when judging and someone puts in their write-up that they have used someone else's images as inspiration, whether they've traced it, redrawn it, or used or created another image off of that image, how does that affect their score to you? If I worded that right, because words are hard today.
Words are hard.
As long as they've given credit and done what to me is a decent job, it depends really on the write-up, on the questions that I would ask. What was the intent? Why did you do this? Why did you use this particular piece? Which can bring that score up quite a bit. But if it appears that the original image is simply stolen, that's going to get them
Go talk.
probably bounced out of my competition.
I'll be done in a little bit. I'll be
Kelly?
done. in a little
Yeah, I hate the part I hate about judging is you're like, huh, and then you do a Google search and you're like, huh, you didn't make that, and that's happened quite a few times as a judge. And the way to stop it is by being honest in your write-up.
Yeah.
100%. Just say hey, and also, like, I didn't make this original thing. I want to say that, like, all artwork. I want to say all artwork is derivative, but everything that you see, everything that you make is not 100% original. You are taking in visual things and it's coming together in your mind, and you're putting stuff together and smashing stuff apart in your head. Nothing you do is 100% original, and is someone else started it. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. We all stand on the giants' shoulders. Just be honest. And I don't know if I would like take off points if you. I would definitely add points if you said that you completely made this up in your head. You didn't have any reference, anything. But I wouldn't take away points if you use reference photos. So.
And you can also do that subconsciously. You don't even realize that you've done it, which I get a lot of because
no
I
idea.
see
Like,
so much.
Yeah. Everything that you see in life is referencing everything else. And
What if they recreated it into like a different, I don't know what the word is here, I want to say medium. So like if they saw a 3D sculpture and then turned it into 2D, or even a 2D drawing and then turned it into 3D, would that be different or be about the same?
honestly, all you have to do,
60% change. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
60% change is the legal.
That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm calling you out
No,
on that.
it's bullshit.
That's complete bullshit. Graphic design, I don't care if you're like, you took the baseball team's logo and you changed it slightly and you said, oh, this is 60%. That's, if you can be like, that's that baseball team, you are not using, you're stealing their ideas. So I wouldn't say any percent. Just be like, look, just because that 60%, what does that even mean? There's no legal thing to this.
Well, changing it from 3D to 2D is considered 60%.
Unless you're selling your work, and then yeah. But if you're just like entering stuff into a competition, just
Be original.
make it. that's what you got to do.
I mean, if you getting into something that Kelly does, if you 3D print a thing from a pattern that's not yours, okay, you started with a pattern. From there, make it your own, paint it. Say it's a dice tower, a little, tower keep dice tower. What the inside looks like is really not going to matter, but paint it and add little bits of greenery or customize it, make it unique. Yes.
So this is something I made. And
Yes.
Like I still have it because I made it for no reason for the ironwood thing. Hang on, let me put the light on it. Yeah. All right. So this is an example.
Oh,
So this is a dragon egg that I made. I have a 3D printer that I have promptly broken after this. I did not design this is just an egg. I just found on thingiverse.com, I found an egg and I scaled it up to the size that I wanted. And I printed that out overnight. And then I took a wood burning tool and I noxious gassed up my house by cutting it open. And then I did some other stuff to it. It's really hard to see like this. Like, there's a little dragon in it. Yeah. On my write-up, I'm like, I didn't make this egg. I didn't come up with this egg. Yeah, there's a little dragon thing. Just say it. Just tell it. I painted it, my own thing. That's all you gotta do. And if anybody wants this, I don't want this in my house anymore.
I want
That
it.
was find stuff around your own house. Egg.
This is just stuff I had at my house and a 3D printer. I think I got like right before the pandemic hit was my my anniversary, and so my husband bought me flowers because he likes to. Well, I've told him this. I said I really like making the women at work really jealous. So, like, buy me flowers. I'll put them in my office, and then I will get people like, "Oh, those are very nice flowers." My husband never gets me flowers. I'm like, that's nice. But they came with these little glass or plasticky things. And so I was like, yeah, I have some of these and I have some of this and I got a lot of this. It's a lot of different projects.
It's a wonderful job.
Ferris is ready to fight for the egg.
Well, that night and gift is taken care of.
Great.
Well, somebody, yeah.
That was easy. Vidalia, did you have anything to add? We hadn't heard from you in a little bit, so we'll make sure you're still there. We're not missing you.
I'm here. I think that when it comes to incorporating either stylistic elements or different things that either you have not created or created by other people, as long as you're citing your sources and your entire piece isn't someone else's, then I think it's fine. I personally wouldn't count off for it if I were judging. Everyone takes inspiration from different sources with their art. So
Absolutely. All right. This is like the quickest panel ever. I've got one last question. One of my favorites. What do you find most rewarding about your craft?
Making
making
other
people
people
cry.
smile.
We went opposite directions with
The
that.
tears that we're
But
using.
same effect. Right?
That's the most rewarding.
The theme for the night, making other people cry.
Tears are great validation.
They are. It's so nice. And I feel bad saying this, but it is like the goal all the time. Like, if they're crying over something that you made because you were able to make them feel loved and special and amazing, and you were able to do that, yes, take that. That's okay. I call myself a newbie vampire. I can't talk anymore. So, like, I've been in the game for 20 years soon. In like a week, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Holy crap, 2 weeks. But when you've been in for a long time, like, you don't have that same, like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this game. I love this. Oh, that's crap. Everything's really great, you know, because, like, you play the game for a while and you're like, oh, humans are humans. Everyone's terrible sometimes, but, like, it's great because you get those people that are like, you could tell that they're new to the game, and I just want to, like, hang out with them. Just be like, just hang out with me, just whatever, because they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this for my druid character and it's gonna be amazing. And I'm like, yes, you should. I will provide you, help you do that. And then you take that glow that they have and then you use it, you feed upon it so that you still love the game and you don't rage quit because people are terrible. And you use it.
Yes.
And so I'm a newbie vampire, and that's what the tears are for.
That's great. Here's what do you
Can't
find?
have the egg.
Hmm?
Andra. You can't.
Oh. I honestly,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, I just like putting the ideas that I have in my head on paper, just seeing them there, like, that's kind of rewarding to me. Just like, wow, I did this. I put it out there. It's, and other people get to see what's going on in there. That's it.
Seeing something that you made that you're dissatisfied with, that you keep feeling that you could do more, you could do more. And realistically, no, you couldn't. The piece is finished. If you don't put the pen down, the paper's going to turn completely black. But seeing something that you are not super thrilled with going into the hands of a recipient and they lose their mind, they're happy, they're jumping around, they're crying, whatever reaction, but they are amazed to feel worthy of something handmade or time intensive or whatever combination. That just does it. If tears come out of the recipient's eyes, I'm tearing up right now because it's such a good feeling. And I know that we talk a lot about don't let the judges validate you. No, it's not the judges. It's the person who receives it who's going to validate everything that you put into it. And there's nothing you can really do about that. You can't stop it. Most people can't ignore it. They try to, they pretend to, because they're covering up the fact that it made them feel good. That's why I do this. That's why I've been doing this for 25 plus years, is knowing that I've made somebody else's day. How about you, Kelly?
My favorite it's about Newbie Glow. It's about stealing that. It's about making people cry. I was just thinking about my Squire Bunch. I wasn't there for the Master Rose, but I didn't make the stuff for him, and I got to see video of it. But
There was tears.
10th oh my god, it was so good. Oh my god, for his 10th Rose, I made him he really likes Power Rangers, so I made him a green Power Ranger apron and like green Power Ranger oven mitts because he's a feast dude. And like he was all like, I'm everything this is good. And then like you could see he was like yes, those tears.
That seems to be what pushes most of us, is making other people feel good. Like Obscura, the first time that you showed your laptop, you were trying so hard to figure out how to use your laptop for a presentation, but make it AmpGuard related, make it not look like this electronic thing just dumped on a table. This woman sets her laptop up on a box that is covered in cloth and surrounds the screen with scarves and just loaded it up with stuff that apparently she just had laying around the house. So she hid the laptop and made, and I believe it was in your write-up, you said that this magic screen is going to present this.
That's awesome.
And I took one look at it as a judge and lost my shit.
I want to see pictures.
Yeah, it had like a little card sitting where the mouse pad is, and you were supposed to say this incantation and push the button that you couldn't see.
Oh my god, that's so cool. That's great.
Oh, it really was. There's a reason she's in the Beltline.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. You sent Lolly a message right away, just like, yeah, that's it. She did a good job. Yeah. So Vidalia, what do you find most rewarding? Is it the tears?
I gotta side with
Team tears.
on this one. I do love the tears. It is definitely one of my favorite parts. I joke with Cabbage that my goal with ANS is to make all of the knights cry. I I've got like half of them so far. I'll get the rest soon. So
She's beating me on that.
Noble goals.
Right. Did anybody else have any questions while they are on for the panelists? Or
Like, we're good. Like, you should make the populace cry. 'Cause that's-
yes, that is the point. Happy cry.
Get the manipulate them so that you can get their tears.
or was there anything that I didn't ask that you want to touch on, or anything else? Because that was all the questions that I had.
I want to apologize to anybody that I have cut off in my boisterous, brainless chatter. Kelly, I think I got you once. So I'm sorry.
I overtalk. Okay, here's the thing. So you know what imposter syndrome is?
Yes.
Imposter syndrome is when you don't believe that you can do something. The opposite is also true, and I find this is happening with a lot of knights. You have imposter syndrome, where like, I will talk over you and tell you, you know, we're cats and we're not making a lot of sense, and we just talk. So I'm sorry if I also did the same thing, because I know I did, and I will, and I'm sorry in advance for all future times when I do this. So
Me too.
mhm.
I think I got it from my cats.
I'm trying real hard.
So y'all are doing great.
You either get really talking me or silent me.
No in between. Yeah.
Well, the rest of you, come on, say something. Closing statements? Anything?
Keep
Here's
on
the
doing some
tears.
I think
art.
I'm finished. What do you guys think?
Ooh, that's so good. I'm spotlighting that.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful.
I love the palette. I love the colors.
Oh man.
And how long was that? What, 3 hours, 2 hours?
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
Use the tears for watercolors. Yes. And then you have a little bit of them on the paper.
Oh, Vidalia, you should already be a master.
Aw, shucks.
No, really, I've seen now, including this one, I've seen quite a bit of your work, and it's different mediums. You're not a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And wow.
Like, you entered the Interkingdom Iron Mountains thing, and I'm like, I don't know who I even talked to. I'm like, I need to talk to your regent. We're gonna have a conversation.
I've had judges state, why is this person not a master yet?
Because she only
And-
started 2 years ago. We're getting there slowly.
Yeah, you're gonna have some time.
Yeah,
It
eventually.
didn't matter to them.
we're getting there. We're getting there. Best we can.
But yeah,
So
it
now
was
we're
a
making
real-
Vidalia cry, or at least blush.
it was a real treat to draw for you guys. Thank you so much for letting me do a little performance.
Well, thanks for multitasking.
Yeah.
I can barely sit here and drink my drink and talk at the same time. I've at least had to mute myself and go off camera because I choked myself because multitasking is hard for me today. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, that is all I had. I will remind you, see, words are difficult. Use that second link at the top of the chat that says, oops, this link, and for sign-in credit,
You might
and
have
we'll
to
get those put in.
send that, because I think a lot of people joined after that. Then you don't
Yeah.
see the top of the chat that way.
Don't see the top. I will resend it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's not like other things. I forget. Zoom is a little different.
Do we have any
Yes.
questions from anybody? And I will stop recording, by the way.